located in South Carolina. I'm delighted that you are here with us on this great Yom, a time of celebration and a time of commemoration, a time that we celebrate our rest as well as commemorate the rest of our Abba. For those of you that are tuning in for the first time, I want to say once again, welcome, 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 and I pray that you stay for the duration. At this time, we're going to have the Baruch of the Torah, and then from the Baruch of the Ten Commandments. And it is so.
And it is so.
All right, repeat with me. Baruch Yahuwah.
Baruch Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch one.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch
For all eternity.
For all eternity.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Our supreme one.
Our supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the universe.
Who selected us from all the peoples.
Who selected us from all the peoples.
And gave us his Torah.
And gave us his Torah.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Giver of the Torah.
Giver of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Our supreme one.
Our supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the universe.
Who gave us the Torah of truth.
Who gave us the Torah of truth.
And implanted eternal life within us.
And implanted eternal life within us.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Giver of the Torah.
Yahuwah, your power, which brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim from the faith of slavery. You shall not make your graven image or any likeness of anything that is in Shemayim above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the Mayim beneath the earth. You shall not bow down yourself unto them, nor serve them, for I, Yahuwah, your power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the Abbas upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that are hot men. Keep any work. You, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor your ox, nor your ass, nor any of your cattle, nor your foreigner that is with you, are there through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore, Yahuwah, your power, commanded you to keep the Sabbath day. Okay? Esteem your Av and your Im as Yahuwah, your power, has commanded you, that your days may be prolonged and that it may go well with you in the land which Yahuwah, your power, is about to give you. Why? You shall not murder your neighbor. You, neither shall you desire your neighbor's issue, neither shall you covet your neighbor's bed, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his ass, or anything that is your neighbor's. These words are who was spoken to all your assembly in the mount, out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness with a great voice. And he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone and delivered them unto me.
Commandments, the statutes and the judgments which Yahuwah, your power, commanded to teach you, that you might do them in the land where you are going to enter and possess it, that you might fear Yahuwah, your power, to keep all his statutes and his commandments, that flows with milk and honey. Which means love Yahuwah, your supreme one, with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words which I command you this Yom, means day, shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your bed, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, to fall. Verse 9, and you shall write them upon the posts of your bed and on your gate, all great things which you filled not, wells dug which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant. When you shall have eaten that before, then beware lest you forget Yahuwah, which brought you forth out of the land of Mitzrayim, from the bed of slavery. You shall fear Yahuwah, your power, and serve him, and shall swear by his name. You shall not go the power of the people which are round about you. For Yahuwah, your power, is a jealous power among you, lest the anger of Yahuwah, your power, be kindled against you, and he destroy you from off the face of the earth. You shall not tempt Yahuwah, your power, as you tempted him in Massah. You shall diligently keep the commandments of Yahuwah, power, and his testimonies, and his statutes which he has commanded you. And you shall do that which is attention to Yahush, the son of Nun, chapter 1. And we're going to look at verses 6, 7, and we're going to confess 8. We're going to look at verse 6, 7. We're going to read verses 6 and 7, and we're going to confess verse 8. And it is so.
And it is so.
Be you strong and very courageous, that you may observe to do according to all the Torah which Moshe, my servant, commanded you. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that you may prosper, and we will not prosper. It is important that we understand that. Are y'all hearing me?
Yes.
All right, we're going to confess verse 8. I've tailored it to fit our personal confession. I have not changed it, just made it to fit a personal confession in it,
But I shall meditate in it
day and night,
day and night,
that I may observe to do
that I may observe to do
according to all that is written in it.
according to all that is written in it.
But then I shall make my way.
Act wisely.
I am determined
I am determined
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
Come on, I am determined
I am determined
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
Come on, I am determined
I am determined
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so very important that we as the children of Yahshua act wisely. Very important. We're going to have another song. Baruch Yahuwah, oh my soul, and all that is within me. Oh my soul, and all that is within me. I will baruch your name. 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 Baruch Yahuwah, oh my soul, and all that is within me. I will baruch your name. I will baruch your name. I will baruch appreciate him for what he's doing, what he's done, and what he's yet going to do in the lives of us as people. We once again appreciate him for keeping us during perilous times as these. Once again, I want to say welcome, welcome, welcome from Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Break Belief congregation located in South Carolina. It is that I always read. Why do I read it? I read it because our being kept is found in the Mashiach. I don't care what other people say. I don't care how they are trying to fix their mouths to tell you that it is not in the Mashiach, but it is in him that we find our safety. This morning, as I was up and I was studying and just meditating, this is what came up in my Ruach. Yahush is Yasharal's Goshen. Yahush is Yasharal's Goshen. He is our Goshen. He is our place of safety. It is in him that we have that safety, that place of safety. If we do not follow in his instructions or in his footsteps, the importance of embracing his name and allowing ourselves to be taught by him, because if we don't listen to him and remain encouraged by holding on and following in the truth that has been given unto us, his chosen. There is only one truth. There is not 3 and 4. There is only one way, and that is the way that the Abba has given it unto us in the writings. And it is God, his commands coming that has overcome the world, our belief. Our belief in who? Our belief in the Mashiach, the son of Abba Yahuwah. It is important that you understand that. Who is the one who overcomes the world but he who believes that Yahush is the son of Yahuwah? He's asking them a question. Now he's going to come and he's going to flesh out the answer. And it says, this is the one that came by water and blood, Yahush Mashiach, not only by water, but by water and blood. And it is the Ruach who bears witness, because the Ruach is the truth. Verse 7, because there are 3 who bear witness, the Ruach, the water, and the blood. And the 3 are in agreement. If we receive the witness of men, the witness of Yahuwah is greater. Somebody say greater.
Greater.
Because this is the witness of Yahuwah, which he has witnessed concerning his son. The one who believes in the son of Yahuwah has the witness in himself. The one who does not believe Yahuwah has made him a liar, because he has not believed the witness that Yahuwah has given concerning his son. And this is the witness that Yahuwah has given us eternal life. And this possesses life. Somebody say life.
Life.
It's important that we understand, if you do not have Yahush, you do not have life. There is no ins and outs about it, and there is no way to get around it. I don't want to get who has to sin to death. I do not say that he should pray about that. All unrighteousness is sin, and there is a sin not to death. We know that everyone having been born of Yahuwah does not sin, but the one having been begotten of Yahuwah guards himself, and the wicked one does not touch him. There is a method to our protection. There is a method to our protection and to our being able to be sustained in the wicked one. And we know that the son of Yahuwah has come and has given us an understanding. Who gives us an understanding? Yahush. Say it again. Who gives us an understanding?
Yahush.
Yahush. So if Yahush is not the driver or the governing, I don't want to say force, or the governor of a person's life, then they cannot convey to you what they themselves do not understand. Because it is Yahush that gives us an understanding of times, seasons. Are you hearing me?
Mm-hmm.
And of our relationship with the Abba and with one another. If we do not have this and it's not in place, it's not going to work. It's not going to work, period. So that we might know the one, the true one, and we are in the true one in his son, Yahush Mashiach. This is the true Yahuwah, an everlasting life, the day and time we live in, because many times we can find ourselves following up on stuff, believing we're walking in the truth, and actually we are not walking in the truth, but a form of uprightness, and we deny the power thereof. There is power in this walk, and there is power in serving the Abba through his son, Yahush Mashiach. And it is so.
And it is
so. Let's have another song, please. In the name of Yahuwah, in the name of Yahuwah, we have the victory. In the name of Yahuwah, in the name of Yahuwah, Satan, you have to flee. Oh, tell me who can stand before us when we call on your great name. Yahuwah, Yahuwah, precious Yahuwah, name of Yahuwah, we have victory. In the name of Yahuwah, in the name of Yahuwah, say God, you have to flee. Oh, tell me who can stand before us when we call on your great name. In the name of Yahuwah, we have the victory. Oh, tell me who can stand before us when we call on your name. Yahuwah, precious Yahuwah, we have the victory. In the name of Yahuwah, in the name of Yahuwah, we have the victory. In the name of Yahuwah, in the name of Yahuwah, say God, you have to flee. Oh, tell me who can stand before us when we call on your great name. Yahuwah, Yahuwah, precious Yahuwah, we have the victory. In the name of Yahuwah, in the name of Yahuwah, we have the victory. In the name of Yahuwah, in the name of Yahuwah, say God, you have to flee. Oh, tell me who can stand before us when we call on your great name. Yahuwah, Yahuwah, precious Yahuwah, we have the victory. In the name of Yahuwah, in the name of Yahuwah, we have the victory. In the name of Yahuwah, in the name of Yahuwah, say God, you have to flee. Oh, tell me who can stand before us when we call on your great name. We have the victory. In the name of Yahuwah, in the name of Yahuwah, say God, you have to flee. Oh, tell me who can stand before us when we call on your great name. Yahuwah, precious Yahuwah, we have the victory. In the name of Yahuwah, in the name of Yahuwah, we have the victory. Oh, tell me who can stand before us when we call on your great name. Yahuwah, Yahuwah, precious. In the name of Yahuwah, in the name of Yahuwah, say God, you have to flee. Oh, tell me who can stand before We appreciate him for the victory. We appreciate him for all that he's doing, all that he's done, and all that is yet going to do in the lives of us, his people. It is very important that we understand the time of the season we're in. We're going to talk about that a little later. To get into our affirmation, and then from our affirmation, our declaration, and then we're going to have our last song, and then we're going to go right into the writings. For those of you that may be tuning in for the first time, the first portion of our class is praise and worship and the reading of the scripture, and then from there we go to a final reading of that scripture that will, I won't say close, but will end at that portion of our class that will take us into the next portion where we will focus on what our topic is and what our subtopic is. Don't quit us, because we still have a little while to go as we prepare to get into class. It's important. Why? It's just like when you go out to eat. If you go out to a real nice restaurant, you don't order to order, because by that time your palate is ready, you're hungry, and you're ready for the main course. And so this is what sort of you can look at it in that respect. And so we're getting you ready for the main course, so you'll be so hungry. Our affirmation, and our affirmation is to help us to stay focused, help us to stay consistent, and help us to remember while we're on this journey. We have targeted areas that we are focusing on, and that is to develop our ruach. So as I repeat the affirmation, I just ask that you repeat it with us. And it is so. And it is so. All right, repeat with me. I purpose to develop my ruach.
I purpose to develop my ruach.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I am Ibram.
I am Ibram.
I am born again.
I am born again.
I am Ibram.
I am Ibram.
I have the life and nature
I have the life and nature
of Yahuwah in my ruach.
of Yahuwah in my ruach.
That life is
That life is
the Torah of Yasharal.
the Torah of Yahshua.
I purpose to walk in
I purpose to walk in
the Torah of life.
the Torah of life.
Yahuwah's Torah,
Yahuwah's Torah,
Yahush,
Yahush,
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's knowledge
Yahuwah's knowledge
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's love
Yahuwah's love
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's power
Yahuwah's power
is teaching me.
He is teaching.
He is leading me.
He is leading.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
The Ruach
The Ruach
HaKodesh
HaKodesh
of Yahuwah in me
of Yahuwah in me
is leading me.
is leading.
I'll follow her lead.
I'll follow her lead.
I'll walk in the Torah.
I walk in the Torah.
Yahush,
Yahush,
our Mashiach.
our Mashiach.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. All right, our declaration of healing and shalom. And so it's important we understand. Are you hearing me? All right, repeat with me. Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
in the name of Yahush,
in the name of Yahush,
our Mashiach,
our Mashiach.
we subdue ignorance
We subdue ignorance
with Torah knowledge.
with Torah knowledge.
And through this knowledge
And through this knowledge
of Torah truth,
of Torah truth,
we claim healing,
we claim healing,
shalom,
shalom,
deliverance,
deliverance,
and salvation.
and salvation.
We decree
We decree
Torah truth,
Torah truth,
Torah truth
Torah truth
in the lives
in the lives
of your people,
of your people,
our people,
our people,
Yasharal.
Yahshua.
We unite,
We unite
not to fight,
not to fight,
not to fight,
not to fight,
not to fight
not to fight
each other,
each other,
each other, but the enemy
but the enemy
of our belief.
of our belief.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Let us have our last song, please. And it is so. Let everything, let everything that has breath, praise Yahuwah. Let everything that has breath, praise Yahuwah. Praise Yahuwah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. that has praise let everything that has At this time, we're going to bow before our King and we're going. All right. Repeat with me. May the utterance of my
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you.
be desirable.
The deliberation of my just recited from Tehillim 19 and 14. You may be seated in his presence as we go into part 2 of our time of class. We appreciate the taking place from every state when it comes to this virus. I want to hit on a few things, but we're not going to stay long on it. Why? Because I believe that if you believe in the Abba, then when you listen to what is going to be said, then you will have an answer. Many times I've found, and I'm finding that many people desire a quick fix. They desire an immediate answer. And you have to understand, these things didn't come upon us overnight. The reason that Yashar is suffering is because it has been generation after generation after generation that has continued to walk in disobedience to the things of the Abba. So it is important that we understand, how do we change? First of all, you must repent and turn from your wicked ways and begin to serve him. But you have to understand, and in serving him, there is more to our servitude to him that sometimes is eluded. Sometimes we believe, and this is not to make it sound as though the Sabbath rest and the feast are not of importance. That's a lie. They are of great importance. But it is after we come out of Sabbath and out of the feast, how do we live? How are we conducting our lives? That truly does determine where we're standing and how the Abba views us as his people. And it is so.
It is so.
And so on to Ayam, we're going to deal with some of these things. And in doing so, I pray that you stick with us, don't quit us. We had some amazing singing, awesome praise and worship. Stick with us now for the main course. That was the hors d'oeuvres and the drink and so forth. Now stick with us for the main course so that you can be edified, and that when you leave, you'll be able to go and handle things or deal with things in a whole different perspective and manner. And it is so.
It is so.
And it is so. You turn the lighting up on my phone. Okay. All right. Now I want you to turn your attention to Jeremiah, which is Jeremiah chapter 6. That was before this one that I did. And the reason being is so that you can understand where I'm coming from. We're in a season where the Abba has given me sustainability, how to show us how to sustain ourselves as a people. Now, when entering or dealing with this, you must understand this is as a nation, for a nation, not for us just as individuals. So if we are one of those type of people that say, I don't get along with a lot of people, I'm a loner, then you've got to change your disposition. You have to change your mindset, because this is not about us as individuals. It is about us as a nation, as a people that are called by his name. And so Jeremiah, which his original name is Jeremiah, chapter 6, verse 16 says, and this is what he is saying to Yashar in this time, and even now. Thus said Yahuwah, stand by the roads. And I'm reading this from the JPS Hebrew English Tanakh. Okay? I'm reading it from happiness. That's a question. Travel it and find tranquility for yourselves. Now, we're not going to read the latter part, because the latter part, we understand what they said, we will not do it. But we are a generation that says, I'll be Yahuwah, whatever you tell us to do, we are willing to do it. We will comply with our whole part. With everything in us, we are going to comply. Because we understand that it is in you that we live, move, and have our very existence. So it is important that we understand there are steps that we must follow to secure. He says, stand by the roads and consider. Inquire happiness. That's the question he's asking. In other words, he's giving us a platform, and he's showing us that there are choices that we as the children of Yashar have to make. Travel it and find tranquility for yourselves. What is he telling us? The nation of Yahshua that encompasses what? Individuals. So in order for us to move and understand what is going to be brought forth, we must understand sustainability. So the topic of to Yom is sustainability, the code of conduct, earthly steward. Look at, okay, but look at all the stuff that's happening. Look at how they're shutting down this and shutting down that. I see what they're doing. I see how the grocery stores have been just pillaged. And when I say going in and you see people with 2 and 3 buggies of milk and this and that, and you see this. Now, let me tell you something. I'm not saying as a people we don't do it, but y'all, you must be realistic about this. When you go into the stores, the main people that have their buggies full of all this stuff are white people. The so-called white people. I'm not a racist. I'm just telling it and calling it like it is. They're the ones that had the most tissue in their buggies. They're the ones that had all the milk. They're the ones that had all these things in their buggies. Why? Because they want to capitalize on these things. So what happens is, if you're not prepared, guess what? You won't get prepared, or you're going to pay a mighty fine price for your preparation from those that control it or hold it. Are y'all following me? Now, that brings me here. I want to read to you with our Creator into the future. Well, we come to understand that there was a breach that caused that relationship to be broken. And because of that broken relationship, we just continued in the path of the broken relationship, because some of us really didn't know any better. If you're like me, I thought Christianity was it because that's all I was taught. So that was all I had to walk in. That was all I had to hold on to. But now I'm realizing in these past 7 years that that was not the way that the Abba had given unto us as his people. So once again, for Yahshua, according to Lamentations 5:4-14, as is being recognized with increasing frequency in modern debates, sustainability is ultimately a moral issue, our code of conduct. It is important that we understand that in us is a blueprint. That is a blueprint for the code of conduct that we are supposed to have during the seasons, whether it's a great season, whether it's the rainy season, whether it is the season where things have to die, and then the season that comes where everything is rebirthed. We still have a code of conduct that we are to govern our lives according to. It's important for us as a people. Are y'all hearing me? The principles of sustainability are the foundations of what this concept represents. Therefore, sustainability is made up of 3 pillars. The first pillar is economic, social, and environment, and the environment. These principles are also informally used as profit, people, and planet. Now, somebody may be saying, but that's a long stretch. That's a lot, especially when we can't even get together on certain things. This is important for us to understand that whether everybody or just a few begin to migrate or move, okay, the principle, let me give you this. These principles are the 3 pillars: economics. We're writing this down so that you all can see it. Economics, social, and environmental. All right. Those are the 3 pillars. That way you can write them down if you choose to write them down and go back and look over it. These are the 3 pillars. Once again, these pillars or principles are also informally used as profit, people, and planet. Why am I going this route? Because it is important for us to understand, as I said in the very beginning, when you go to the grocery store, especially in times like these, whether it's a storm that's about to hit or has hit, or whether it is in situations like this, when you go to the grocery store and you find that there is nothing left but the crumbs of the stuff that you know you don't even buy, that puts you in a situation, if you've not already prepared, that puts you in a very, that puts you in a place of disadvantage. Because if they close the stores down for 2 to 3 weeks, guess what? You don't have anything to survive off of. Why can we as a people change this for us? Sustainability. And we find it in the writings, how to sustain ourselves. Once again, examples of sustainability. Harnessing wind energy to provide power. But right now, how do we, because all this has come upon us, how do we still make this change? Easily begin to walk in that path. It's just as easy as opening up a door, in it or exiting it. It's just that easy. What makes it complex is what are we afraid of leaving in this system that we don't want to let it go? What is it about this system that we don't want to let go that has us vacillating and saying, well, I don't want to do it, or I can't do it? Well, I'm telling you this, or to the system that is already breathing down our necks, even as we speak. That's important. Now, once again, it is our code of conduct he has given us to be earthly stewards. Now, let me show you. That code of conduct was lost, or we forfeited it because we began to follow in other paths and began to do other things that caused us to lose it. Now, you have to understand, we are the true stewards of this world. But there are those that have basically taken that position because we're out of place. Right. The longer we stay out of place, the longer things are displaced. That is why it is important for us to understand that we have a responsibility and an obligation, according to Jeremiah 6:16. Stand in that way, and as we stand in that way and seek it, and seek our happiness, seek our way of life, guess what? It's going to bring us right back into the face of the Abba and to our natural and really no system. Now, with that being said, once again, and this is important for us to understand. Why is this important for us to understand? Because so many of our people are afraid now. That's why you see, if you just cruise, people are trying to figure out what's going on, what's wrong. What can I do to fix this? What can I do to correct this? Well, number one, the only way we as a people are going to be secure and corrected is that we've got to walk in obedience. First, you got to repent. Now, once you repented and began to move forward and operate in the things that he's given unto us, then what you do is you continue to seek that ancient path so that you can find the right way that is pleasing and upright before him. That is important. And so with that being said, our people are at a place where they are in, where their ruach is saying it is important that we fear the Abba. We fear everything and everyone else but the Abba. We will break the Sabbath and say it's okay, but then they say don't go outside because you have a curfew. And we in at 10, we in at 11, normally we outside around just say 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. At 7 and 8, we inside because we ain't trying to be nowhere near breaking the curfews that have been set. But when the Abba puts something out there for us, oh, he'll forgive, or he understands. Because we don't have that fear anymore. Right. And when we lack that fear, we are susceptible to do any and everything, thinking that it is a past because we think, oh, he's going to let us get by. Let me tell you something. Are y'all following me? Yeah. It is our position of authority that he's given unto us in the earth. All right. Now, I want us to turn our attention the midbar, which is Numbers chapter 35. Chapter 35. Excuse me. The reason we're going to look at this is because it shows us the construct and how this works to build and to secure us as a people. While you're turning there, I want to say this again. I said it during praise and worship. During the early part of this Yom, as I was studying and asking, the Abba gently put this upon my heart. Yahush is Yasharal's Goshen. Remember when Yasharal was in Mitzrayim, they were in Goshen. If you're not in him, then who are you in? Because you can't even have access to the Abba except you go through his son. That's right. That is important for us to understand. Sustainability, code of conduct. We have been equipped and instructed to be wise earthly stewards. We have been to be wise earthly stewards. Somebody may ask, does that mean that because we are stewards of the earth, that now we have to become vegan? Absolutely not. They were herdsmen. They were gardeners, but they had a well-balanced lifestyle. And that is what we are not shooting for, but that's what we're. It's not just for you and me. It is for the nation of Yahshua. That is what is important, because so many times we are last. We're last. And we were at one of the major stores and they had water and we saw people. Now, once again, understand what I am saying. We saw people, we were grabbing water, but we were making sure, and this is how European, and he had 2 crates of water. And we was looking, he said, oh, I'm getting this water for me and for some of my friends. And in my mind, I'm thinking, because you're thinking to sustain your people. While everybody else is here at the grocery store trying to get water, you're holding on to water for somebody that's not even here at the store. But see, code of conduct is we've got to take care of our own people.
Right.
Are y'all following me?
Yes.
That's their code of conduct. Take care of our own. And if there's any left, can get it. And if not, oh well. Oh well. It's important that we understand. And the writings do not, listen to me carefully. The writings do not speak against us taking care of and looking after our own. Because even in the writings, when you look at the stranger is not what you and I would want. A stranger is another person from another tribe. Because Ben and you have Gad and you have Shimeon, when you get to those tribes, and you say, if you're from Yehuda and you go into Benjamin's tribe, you are a stranger because you do not somebody from another nationality. Are y'all following me?
No.
That's important for us to understand so that we can get this thing moving and understanding. Once again, it is about to where we are in that one place, then the Abba can speak to us through his Ruach, through the Ruach HaKodesh. And she can begin at that moment and at that time to begin to put us together and begin to cause us to understand his voice and his voice alone. But when we are in different places and different locations, it becomes challenging. Why? Because sometimes we tend to. Now, once again, we're looking at stewardship, which if we be faithful over another man's, then the Abba will make us ruler over much. But I want to show you that unless we are faithful over Abba Yahuwah's, what he's given to us, we will not be sustained. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
That's important for us to understand. All right. We have great example of Yahuwah's detailed instruction for stewardship in Numbers, which is Bamidbar, chapter 35. Instructing the Luim or the Luai tribe to set up towns amount of pasture land each town should have. Measuring from the edge of the town, the area for pasture was to extend outward 1,000 cubits, about 1,500 feet. Cubics for one, then another 2,000 cubics. Then for the other, another to the town in the middle. Now you have to understand, in the middle. So if we have the town and we're secured in the middle, the gardening, all that grows because we expand outward and not inward. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
Why is this important for us to understand? It is important for us to understand because even mathematically, the Abba gave us the way or the diagram in which as a people, if we truly want to live and have a life that is sustained outside of this system that is corrupt, he's given us how to do so. But it's going to take our undivided sacrifice and attention to it. And above all, that is important for us to understand. Why is it important for us to understand? Because many of us are trying to hold on to a system that does not even acknowledge us as citizens. It doesn't acknowledge us as a people, as citizens, but yet we fight and buy something. It's convenient for these things, but now that that convenience has been removed, are we listening and are we ready for a change? Many are saying and may believe that, in a month or two it will change. You don't know. These people. Are y'all following me? That is important for us. That everything else is around. Why? Because we are harder, or each herd comes in, though, is that when we go and support and buy, and somebody may say, well, I don't go to the grocery store, I go to the farmer's market. Great, because the farmer's market is not open 24 hours. Are you following me? Not only are we supposed to do this as a people, but it builds us. It helps us to be sustained in every area, economically, socially, environmental. These are the things that we ought to be looking at as a people. So once again, when we put ourselves in the position to grow down tomorrow, are y'all following me?
Yeah.
That is so important for us to understand. All right, now listen to this. This is what is required for economic and cultural development. Economic and cultural development. As a people, we don't know, many of us, who we are. We don't know. So we tend to run around. And so now we are all over the place. We're doing this, we're doing that. Many are wearing blonde hair. Many are trying to have blue eyes. Understand, I've been there. Change the color of my eyes. Trying to be somebody that I'm not. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
And if they're not doing that, then they're trying to make their skin lighter because we don't know who we are. We've been taught to hate ourselves. We've been taught to gravitate and to adopt everybody's culture and way of life, but our very own. And so now we're at a point that the Abba is saying, seek that path. You can't go wrong when you seek him, truly seek him, because he's going to let you find him when you are truly seeking. It brings about productivity. This is what is required for economic and cultural development. So the Abba is not saying you will not be able to have anything economically. He's showing us to keep it in. Wrong with that. Now, listen at this. Yahuwah instructed Moshe on civil planning based on semi-geometrical growth of pasture land. Once again, it is important that we understand that, and we're going to go into the writings, and I'm going to show things, and not just from paycheck to paycheck, the way we do things. All right. The Midbar, which is Numbers chapter 35, illustrates the detailed attention Yahuwah pays to enabling work that sustains our people and creates economic well-being. When we read this, you're going to see that he strategically put everything in a way so that we as a people could develop and grow from it and be sustained by it. Why do you think grocery stores now, especially Walmart, are calling themselves neighbors? What's wrong with having our own? Are y'all following me? Yeah. To where now you don't even have to leave your surrounding because everything you need is right there. Today, to be stewards of the earth's resources efficiently while being sustained. So it's important that we understand that the blueprint is in us. Now, it is up to us to pull out that blueprint and really begin to understand what he's given unto us. An indoor garden, it's yet a garden. You say, well, I use my balcony to grow. It's still a garden. Well, I use this supposed to live. Once again, I'm not talking about, so much as being vegans, but as having a balanced heart. There's some heinous stuff out there and some horrible, detestable people out there.
Right. That's right.
That have no morals, none whatsoever, for us as his people. Are you following me? Very important. All right, let us turn our attention to Numbers chapter 35. And we're going to read the whole chapter. And it's going to give us, once again, a detail. Now, once again, in your heart of hearts and in your mind, I want you to picture, as we're reading this, the town in the center and everything else on the outskirts. Okay? To be protected. And I'm going to show you, even in history, that our people did at one point in time live according to the writings. Are y'all following me? Yeah. That's important for us to understand. All right, let's start at chapter 35 of Numbers, which is the midbar. And let's read 7 verses. No, let's do 6 verses.
And Yahuwah spoke unto Moshe in the plains of Moab by Jordan, near Jericho, saying, Command the children of Yasharal that they give unto the Levites of the inheritance of their possession, cities to dwell in, and you shall give also unto the Levites suburbs for the cities round about them. And the cities shall they have to dwell in, and the suburbs of them shall be for their cattle, and for their goods, and for all their beasts. And the suburbs of the cities which you shall give unto the Levites shall reach from the wall of the city and outward 1,000 cubits round about. And on the west side 2,000 cubits. And on the north side 2,000 cubits. And the city shall be in the midst. There shall be to them the suburbs of the cities. And among the cities which you shall give unto the Levites, there shall be 6 cities for refuge, which you shall appoint for the person who has killed unintentionally, that he may flee there, and to them you shall add 42 cities. And it is so.
And it is so. Now, he kept adding. So there was no decrease. It's always increase, not decrease. Now, once you got to understand these cities around. Now, he added that city as a city of refuge, but the other cities were for the people to live in, to be in a place of tranquility, a place of action, to be in a place that they could not, that not only did they give, but they also receive, but they were also able to give. They were recipients of their environment, and their environment was a recipient of the gifts that they brought to that land. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
It's important to understand that. Why is it important to understand that? Because along the way, we lost our identity. And now we're being here, there, and everywhere. And we're the only people that really don't have a culture. We're the only people that really do not have a sense of security or a sense of way of life. We don't. We'll be over here one. Whatever we find security in, we will be there as long as it makes us feel safe. But the safest place is in the instructions of the Abba, because he is his instructions. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
That is so important for us to understand. And then you must understand, once again, it is a way that produces or brings forth economics, where our people will have. We'll be able to have things, and you don't have to worry about, well, that person is rich and that person is poor. If you read in the writings, you never hear of a person being rich in this respect and people being poor. There was no time for it. Why? Because the system dictated otherwise. You hear about people, you have to understand there were poor people, but not like we look at poor today. Yasharal didn't have people living on the street. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
Even when you look in the writings, and the man was at the pool of Bethesda, that man had a home.
That's right. Right.
His parents bought him, or his family took him there, and they laid him there because they was hoping by some chance he would be able to step into the water and be healed. But he was not homeless. Right. He had a family. He was put there because he was looking for a miracle. And the miracle he thought he was, rise up, take up your bed and walk. Right. So understand something. Well, the poor that we see today is not the poor of yesterday, according to our. That's where you start seeing that our lifestyle and our stuff start falling apart. Understand? Because once again, stewards of this earth, being stewards of the earth, what greater task could anybody have? We were given to maintain this earth. Okay. And everybody will say, we got to go back to our way of life. But until you become a steward of his earth, you bypassing, you going past that to try to get to everything else, which is error. Because he gave it to us to tend to and to take care of. If you notice, we have more cities, we have more stuff that is coming over, and it is destroying the land. You have hardly any country land left. Any places where you can really build. Why? Because people are coming in because they want quick, fast. They don't want country anymore. They don't want these things. They don't want to have to do these things. So what do? You start bringing natural the natives or the animals of that land, you start driving them out. Properties in dirt, believe it or not. That's why now you notice many people take mud baths because there are healing properties in that dirt. But if you are taking away the dirt and you're covering it with asphalt and you're covering it with cement and concrete, you are taking away the earth's ability to bring forth healing. Are you hearing me? No, and this ain't no witchcraft, and this ain't being no spiritualist. Being real about what we've been given to do and showing us what he gave us the earth for and who are the true stewards of it, and that is us. The writings tell us that the earth moans and groans for the true sons, right, to be revealed. So that means there is a false people in place that need to be removed, because they are destroying what the Abba has given unto us as a people. Are y'all following me?
Right.
Now listen what he says. And the cities which you give to the Lord are the 6 cities of refuge, 6 cities of refuge, which you give on system. We don't have to worry about our people being killed wrongfully.
Right.
We don't guilty before you even judge. You're guilty because of your color. You're guilty. You died. Now, with that being said, we have our own system. Now you have a place to remain while your case is coming forward. And when it is done and brought forward, it is going to be judged accordingly, because the Abba is the one that oversees it. And he's given us a way. I don't know about you, but that's the way I not know to prepare. And then when they did go to now they tell people for a customer, after it's all gone, there is none for you to get. You can't even get one, let alone 4. But now they put this into place. Yeah, let me tell y'all. So we saw on the media, this European man had went and bought a house full of sanitizers. When this virus came out, he was going to so that nobody else would have it. So when you go to the store, there's nothing for you to get. And if that's what you call price mistakes and this true error and the stuff that's behind it, it's got us blinded. I don't want to get out there and be trying to garden. I ain't trying to do this. And the first thing come up in our mind is pigs. We don't eat pigs. We don't fool with pigs. Pigs, pigs, because they poo, are not even food. It's an abomination. Pigs were never meant to be eaten. You know what pigs are for? Pigs are for keeping your land clean. That's right. They're garbage to eat now. That's what pigs were. And forced it and introduced it to our people. When you know better, you do better. Are y'all following me? Yeah. So we don't fool with that. All right, let's pick up at verse 8 and let's read verse 8, please. Let's read 7 verses. And it is 7.
Yeah, verse 8 of chapter 35. The towns you give the Lewites from the land of the Ashurites are to be given in proportion to the inhabitants of each tribe. Take many towns from a tribe that has many, but few from one that has few. Then Yahuwah said to Moshe, speak to them accidentally and flee. There will be places of refuge from the avenger, so that a person accused of murder may not be able to die before he stands trial before the assembly. These 6 towns you give will be your cities of refuge. Give 3 on this side of the Jordan, and 3 in Canaan as cities of refuge. These 6 towns will be a place of refuge for Yasharite aliens and the other people living among them, so that anyone who has
still live, and you're still able to have a life until your time accident. So you are judged differently, but you are still given access to a way of life where you're not thrown into where hard criminals are doing things that they did intentionally. So you have to understand our way of life is different than that way of life. But because we have been bred to believe and to desire this way of life, excuse me, that system that was forced upon us, many times when you talk about coming off the grid and farming and building communities that cater only to our people and our way or our culture, now we're looked at upon as being hate groups, or we're looked upon as being racist. I can't be a racist. No. I can't be a racist. I don't own enough to be a racist. Are you following me?
Yeah.
And then you have to understand there's a way about our people that we need to cater to in order for our people to stay healthy and for our people to live.
That's right.
And so it is important that we understand that it is found in the writings to justify us. We won't follow in that, but many are still saying, but we say, you won't follow that. You enjoy going into the store and buying what they want you to have. You enjoy going to the store and them catering to their own, and you got to sift through what you can get, or you have to basically alter your taste buds or what it is you want. This once again, these 6 cities are for refuge for the children of Yasharal, and for the sojourner, and for the settler in their midst, for anyone who accidentally kills someone to flee there. Once again, it gives us an outline of those that are able to be a part of those cities, and that's Yasharal. Remember, when we go home, we will be considered strangers because we were not born there. We were not born in our native home. So even if you go home, you're still a stranger.
Right.
That's who is being referred to, not some other nationality. Excuse me. Verse 16. But if he has smitten him with an instrument of iron so that he dies, he is a murderer. The murderer shall certainly be put to death. So he's telling us how. Now, we don't believe in murder. You're alive. If you didn't believe in murder, you wouldn't be out there voting, putting these people in position to execute these things and to bring these things to pass.
That's right.
Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
Right.
It's the truth. Murder, and it's not murder. It is giving them what is due. Because if they murdered anyone, then it is their just reward to have their life taken. Especially when you intentionally went about doing it. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Let's have, give me the other reader, please. 17, verse 17. Let's start there. Let's read 7.
Verse 17.
Mhm.
Murder must definitely be put to death.
Mhm.
Or if someone strikes with a wood object in hand that could cause death, he is a murderer. The murderer must definitely be put to death. The close relative responsible for the blood of the dead is the one who will put the murderer to death. When he meets him, he will execute him. If in hatred someone hits another or throws, a close relative will put the murderer to death when he meets him. But if suddenly and without hostility someone hits another and throws any object at him without premeditation, or accidentally drops any stone on him that could cause death and he dies, even though they weren't enemies and no evil was intended, then the community must come to a verdict between the killer and the close relative in accordance with these.
Premeditated murder, you die. If it's an accident, then you have a chance that have mutilated, violated, and have killed people. And they won't kill them. They say, well, we don't want to make them martyrs. But you allow their lives to go on while the people that they did kill now suffer because they're wondering, will these people ever get out on parole? Will these people ever be able to get out and have a life? Well, they're already having a life because they got, three hots in a cot. They got 3 meals a day and they have somewhere to sleep. And they are protected by the government. And this is the life they have to live. But the Abba gave us a way of life and he showed us how we to do it. Now, some might say, well, we have no Lewites. We still have people that govern themselves according to the instructions of the Abba. And we know in truthfulness that everything that they did in that time, we don't have it, but we do have a mind to live right and to do according to his instructions.
That's right.
If you can go and buy a house in a neighborhood that you will never own and live there and support that neighborhood and do whatever it takes to invest in the people there so that you believe that what you're doing is I committed murder. It would be a deterrent. Many times it's not because people feel like, hey, I'm not getting out, and there's an opportunity or a chance they may get paroled. Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
But sticking with it for our people. As a people, we have to follow the code of conduct for our sustainability. that code of conduct also pushes us into being a people, the stewards of the earth. That's what we're stewards of. I don't read anywhere in here where he tells me to go buy a condo. I don't read anywhere in here where he tells me to go buy a fleet of cars. That is nowhere in here. But what he does says is that I will baruch your seed. I will baruch. There's no exchanging of these in here where he's talking about herd. Now you can equate that to a car. That's nowhere in there. The reason being is because now we have put aside our way of life and adopted their way of life. So now when people read the writings, oh, you're going to be blessed with a car. That there is nowhere in here where he said he blessed anybody with a car. Nowhere. So once again, the mindset and the truth of the word must be promoted, and it must be seen in the lives of us, his people. Oh, yeah, follow me. Yes. Very important. All right, let's finish reading. Because you read to 24, right? Mm-hmm.
Starting at verse 24. Verse 25. And the congregation shall deliver the slayer out of the hand of the revenger of blood. And the congregation shall restore him to the city of his refuge, whither he was fled. And he shall abide in it unto the death of the high priest, until he come without the border of the city of his refuge, where he has fled, and the revenger of blood find him without the borders of the city of his refuge, and the revenger of blood kill the slayer, he shall not be guilty of blood, because he should have remained in the city of his refuge until the death of the high priest. But after the death of the high priest, the slayer shall return into the land of his possession. So kills any person, the murderer shall be put to death by the mouth of witnesses. But one witness shall not testify against any person to cause him to die. Moreover, you shall take no satisfaction for the life of a murderer, which is guilty of death, but he shall be surely put to death. And it is so.
And it is so. Now that once again, fail-proof system that as the children of Yahshua, we should be seeking to have as a people, so that we can truly exemplify the wisdom and the integrity of the Abba. There is no way outside of it. And while many of us are trying to wait and go somewhere, we're in a place that now, and the importance of understanding this is that now it is a fair trial, not like the way things are going. Why do you think whenever our people are constantly ragdoll or found guilty, where are we always found guilty? It's in the judicial system that was created against us. There's nothing for us in that system. Every time there's something go wrong, they say a trial of your peers. How can you say a melanated man or a black man, which is the original Hebrew, or black woman, the original Hebrew, goes to trial, and there are all white jury going to give them a fair chance? Then when they come out and they say, well, they didn't do it right, what did you expect? They're not going to do it right. It is not within them to do right by you or by me. It is not meant. Are y'all following me? This is why it is important that we establish reestablish that what has already been established. That's right. It is nothing new. It is nothing hard. It is not difficult. Remember, he said, my instructions are not difficult. What makes it difficult is that we have two things going on. Once again, he said, thus say Yahuwah, stand by the road and consider. In other translations, we're going to continue to see senseless murderings. We're going to continue to see senseless judgments passed against our people, because we're not willing to go completely in. Completely in means I got to cut something off in order to hold completely on to this. You can't have two lovers. You can't have both of them and say, I'm going to live by this when need to. And then when I want to, I'm going to live by this. That's not how it works.
No.
He's calling us completely out of this system. Why everybody says this is Babylon, but what are you doing? You say this is Babylon, and the only thing you're trying to do is escape here. You're still in error, because where are you going to go with that mindset? You can live in a place and not be touched or affected by that place. Ask the Amish, ask the Quakers. So they got their own judicial system. They have their own way of doing things. They ain't thinking about nobody's government. Don't bother them. Don't bother them. They have their dress codes. They do what they do.
That's right.
And we sit back and complain, but we're doing nothing about it to change it. When it's been given to us in the writings, what we need to do to make that change.
Right.
We don't want to do it. Why? Because it's going to cost us more than we're willing to pay. Many of you are not ready to give up that lifestyle. You're not ready to give up that house that will never be yours. You're not ready to taxes if you want to. They'll come and have that thing told quicker than a hot minute. After you done paid $50,000 for it, it still ain't yours. You're still paying taxes on it, and you're still paying insurance on it. It is not yours.
That's right.
Miss paying them taxes and have them tags registered. They'll come and move from your house and find you if you don't do something with it.
Right.
So what I'm saying to us as a people, this is the model, this is the plan that the Abba has for us. And that is to live according to his instructions. To truly pull away from that lifestyle and live the lifestyle he does.
No.
Are you hear me? Now listen to this. I found this very interesting and very pertinent for us in verse 27. And the avenger of blood, he says now, but if the one who killed someone at any time goes outside the limits of the city of refuge where he fled, and the revenger of blood finds him outside the limits of the city of refuge, and the revenger of blood kills him who killed someone, he is not guilty of blood. Why? Because he left. What does this tell us? It tells us that in this way, you cannot leave. You got to stay in that place until the high priest dies. In other words, that's your punishment. You go nowhere until things are resolved. What makes that so great is that now, people get out of jail that have committed heinous crimes, and they feel like they can go back and torture and torment the ones they've done this to. But with this system here, you can't do that, because if you die outside of that place of your refuge, then guess what? You just dead, and that's just it. Because that person will not be punished. In other words, it shows us boundaries and guidelines that we cannot afford to leave or to forget about. Are y'all following me? Yeah. That's important for us to understand. Now listen what it says. He who killed someone is to return to the land of his possession. This is afterwards. Now, if he kills, because he should have remained in his city of refuge until the death of the high priest. But after the death of the priest, he who killed someone is to return to the land of his possession. In other words, that person that was going to kill him now has no right, because he served his time. He served his time. Now, listen what he says in verse 29. And these shall be for a law of right ruling to you throughout your what? Throughout your what? Generations in all your what? Your dwellings. Throughout your generations and your dwellings. That means it didn't change for us. Even though our setting and where we were pushed changed, doesn't mean that this is our way of life, that our way of life changed.
Right.
And now it is for us to find that way and live in it, according to his instructions. Verse 30, whoever kills someone has to be put to death as a murderer by the mouth of witnesses. But one witness does not bear witness against someone to die. How many times have we seen our people die because of one person, and then they come back and say, oh, I made a mistake. I made a mistake. Are y'all hearing me? Y'all, he's showing us where we're erring, because we're not in our own place. We are not set up as a governing people under the laws or the instructions of the Abba. And many of you think this is far-fetched, but we live according to this system, a system that does not even recognize and acknowledge us as people or citizens. Important for us to understand. All right, in verse 31. And take no ransom for the life of a murderer who is guilty of death, but he shall certainly be put to death. And take no ransom for him who has fled to his city of refuge, return to dwell in the land before the death of the priest. And do not profane the land where you are. For blood profanes the land. Listen at this. For blood profanes the land, and the land is not pardoned for the blood that is shed on it, except by the blood of him who sheds it. And do not defile the land which you inhabit, in the midst of which I dwell. For I, Yahuwah, am dwelling in the midst of the children of Yahshua. And it is so.
And it is so.
For us to understand, because this is our code of conduct. And because it is our code of conduct, if we do not conduct ourselves accordingly, then guess what happens? We are known to be any and everybody except for the first part that I read to you. Excerpts. It is important that you understand what time we're living in. Many are predicting, the end times. Well, we're already in the end times. We were in the end times even before any of us got of age. We were in the end times when I was born. We were in the end times when you was born. End times just didn't start now. We've been in the end times. But now it is wrapping up. We're seeing famine. We're seeing famine in the land, and we're seeing the sword. But let me tell you something. This is not famine, and this is not the sword. This is something else. But it's preparing us for the things that are to come. Now you must understand, this is a virus that has always been around. Don't let them fool you. You see it on the different Lysol bottles that this virus has already been around. What has happened though is that this virus has some place they're talking about look for it every spring. So that tells you, if you can tell me that this thing can duplicate and it can become something, or it can lay dormant for a certain amount of time, that means you already knew this before now. Or two are with the people that will allow a virus to get out, then tell you that there's a possibility that every summer or every spring it's going to have access to your life. That means you already knew, and we already know that the virus has already been around. Mm-hmm. Now, then they tell you stay at home so that you don't spread it. But now that puts you in a predicament, because if you don't have any food saved up and you have no perishables or no personal things, you have to go out. Mm-hmm. They have in certain places curfews. Some places are 9, some places are 10, some places are 11. So now your life is not just disrupted. Your life really, if you are not grounded in Abba Yahuwah, is tattered. Because now everything they tell you to do, you got to do it, or you will not be able to survive. Mm-hmm. Now you be the judge. Is it better to live according to the system, or pull out of it while you can and live according to the instructions of the Abba? You be the judge. Do you want to continue to let them play with your life and tell you, this is what you have to do and how you have to do it? Or do you really want to have your life governed by the Abba? Because it's time for us to make that choice. The whiners used to sing, it's time to make that change. Mm-hmm. If you're not ready to make that change, I promise you, one way or the other, that change is going to be on you, and either you're going to make it or society is not a wide margin. But it's enough time for us to do what we need to do. Am I saying run living habits? No. It's time to change them. It's time to change them to fit the one who called us forth and gave us life. That's right. That's what I'm saying to you. It is truly important that we do these things. Once again, sustainability. He showed us through Numbers chapter 35, the midbar, sustainability. How we could be sustained and how we could be, even from those that would desire to do us bodily harm. There was a system and there was things in place to keep that from happening. If it did, the city was still protected by the laws that have been given. And if you understand, it said that no matter where you are in your dwellings, these laws are to be upheld by us, the children of Yahshua. So it's important that we understand what we are held accountable for and how we are to govern our lives. I want you to stay encouraged and know that we're praying with you and for you. This is a time, once again, that you need to make a decision. My question to you, the life you've been living hasn't been working. Don't, tell me, well, I've been blessed, because anybody can say that. Has he really instructed you and guided you? Something I've learned, even with the people that popped in and popped out, people are looking for a word. They're not looking to be sustained. They're looking for something that will help them in this moment. To them. I'm not a lying prophet, and I will never say what the Abba is not saying. You better stop listening to these people talking about blessings coming and healing coming. That's not happening. Unless you are living according to his instructions, don't look for no healing to come your way. Blessing. The government is giving, if the government releases money to you, you better understand there is a price tag attached to it. That's what they deem, because the time is now to make that change and to truly seek and understand sustainability the way that he's given it unto us as his people. Our code of conduct. Now I challenge you at that versus your lifestyle, and make a decision that will change your life forever. And that is following after him, because he will never do you wrong and he'll never do you any harm. He loves us. In other words, he loves us as his people. So it is for us to do what he's putting us to do. Once again, I pray, Rose, Goshen. He's our Goshen. Keep your head up, keep your shoulders squared, and keep your heart and your feet in and upon the Torah. Because Torah does the body excellent. Until next time, may Abu Yahuwah Baruch Atah and keep you in his safety until we meet again. And it is so. And it is so. I also want you to remember that you've been touched by Champion TV, a place where the champions reside. It is so.
And it is so.
And decided to bring the thing I was standing in the food to
Do you have a fan?
not a,
Isn't got that hot in here?
it's gotten hotter than it was.
Okay. All right. What we got?
For the first part, DJ Joseph,
From a group woman maker. What's that?
we always say his name like it's like DJ Sparrow. Yeah, he's not Hebrew, but he still follows Hebrew from he was in class. Shazak, Gerard Martin for a second, somebody named Hills, and nothing but Fab. That's a Mexican Martin, by the way. And Papa, and Jordan and Dora. I don't know who this is.
All right. Good.
Okay. Okay, here's the box. Phyllis came in the second one, and Khadijah.
Okay.
Facebook, we had 21 positive reactions,
Okay.
28 comments, 21 shares, 107 views, and